I wrote this a while ago. It goes, I am a hybrid, some God's strange recipe of too much of this and not enough of that. Split hairs, melded prayers of existence and longing. Inbred of communion with cuppeth running over, but not at the mouth enough for some, for sure. I bleed in black and brown and sage and song, shoreline and star, sparkle, blur, blend, into the oblivion of otherness, into the oblivion of the one who escapes and resides in the many. So that poem was called Hybrid. And truth be told, I am not sure why yet it feels apt to put it in here, but somehow it's gonna get woven into this talk about sharing love. The power of your truth is that the greatest love is real, said God to me in July 2022 after a string of visions and dreams had sent me to the National Cathedral. And I've been sitting lately with, how do I speak love into being, like this highest love into being, when I don't even know the unhighest love? I mean, it's not like I don't know that love exists. I mean, even in the last video, I was talking about how I see it in ways that most people cannot. And I marvel at it continuously. It's astonishing to me. But even though it exudes out of me, it seeps through my pores and my breath and the spaces between them, but I don't feel it returned. Like I'm not a recipient of it, as if I'm outside of it. As if it's part of this being stood apart. And I'm touched like all of the time, but there's just not love. And even by God, there's every few weeks his and her hand are laid on top of my head, just like this. And it's unmistakable what it is, and it's undeniable what it is. However, it's only been once in the spring of 2022, before I actually got to the National Cathedral, where I had this dream and I woke myself up saying out loud, oh my God, God does love me. That's what God's love is. Holy shit. And then I promptly went back to sleep, as one does. And this has come to the fore again because I've had another conversation recently where I shared with somebody that the only time that I have felt love is when I was doing the healing work, where in that expanded state of union, where like the only thing that moves is love, the only thing that is love. And in those experiences, it was moved through my physicality and psyche into the person in front of me. And that's where the healing occurred. That's when the healing and miracles happened. And in it, I was love. I was loving. I was lover and loved. Oh my goodness, loved and knew it. And it's the primary reason I didn't want to leave the healing work behind. I knew that without it, I would not feel love. And these two people that I shared over the course of a couple of years with like this, when I shared this experience and my truth, and then the lack of love for me was amplified because it was the same conversation with two different women a couple of years apart, and both of them just turned away. The first with eyes as wide as pies because she couldn't believe that was a lived experience. And the second let me know, essentially, like these are not her words, these are my feelings, but my feeling was that my vulnerability and my truth as a fellow human being triggered her. And I was like, okay, but you're not going to offer concern or a cup of tea or any aspect of your own hearted nature. I'm just removed. And this is not to say that I don't know that people can do the best they can. I mean, maybe what do you say? I don't know. But this lingering thing out there and this lack of acknowledgement of my lived experience, all it did was amplify lonely silence and the lack of love. And it amplified even more the fact that my most intimate relationships, my only intimate relationships, are with what other people call inanimate or the dead. And I'm like, fuck. And so like, and even from these, like they're the visions and the visitations, like these are about their needs or the needs of their kin or something that I need to do to meet something that I don't understand. So like no one breathing, no one embodied holds my hand or lifts me up. No one engages beyond their own need to be reaffirmed or to just be in this space of non-judgment where their own fear and their own vulnerability and their own truth can be held safely within it. And I'm like, well, fuck, shit, how am I supposed to bring this greatest love through, like when I'm only told I love you a couple of times a year? And I do, I mean, I believe it. It is a rare person, although they do exist, who is going to lie about that kind of thing, right? But I don't feel it. And it's this thing that I'm being pushed to do this thing. And like I experience kindness all the time. Absolutely. And it's amazing because all of that kindness comes from a loving place, right? If you're not in a loving place, you're not being kind. But do I experience love? Nope. Do I experience any of those 8 definitions of love? Nope. And there's reasons behind it. It's not just about like my feelings being hurt. In part, it's because I'm wired differently. 17 and a half years of my formative life were spent being physically, mentally, and emotionally abused near daily, profoundly. And the effects of that within the physical body and mental processing are just as profound, and they linger. And they have may have forged me into a strength, but also perhaps, I don't know, removed from me that kind of emotional connection. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just one of those things. It's like just Brennan's definition of porn. Like, I'll know it when I see it. I will feel it and I will know it. And how cool will that be? But how do I bring this higher love through? How do I do that when there aren't other breathing people in my world? Like, I just don't have deep friendships, deep family relationships. There's no real support system. There's no close family and friends with which to develop and practice intimacy, where both vulnerability and our superpowers are welcomed and nurtured, and it doesn't matter how we show up. And this is one of the reasons why my devotion to the disappeared and murdered is so strong. I know what that aloneness feels like. I know what it took to get them where they are, literally and metaphorically. And I know that yearning of the heart, that place, that space, that home. And it's one of the reasons why I know what it will be like for the world to experience itself, for humanity and beyond humanity to experience itself without this repercussive weight of familial, communal, and institutionalized sexual predation and exploitation. It's one of those things that it's not just a feeling, not just an intuition. It is a solid knowing, as strong and clear as the ground and sky, right? It's the knowing that just like God's love exists. But I've repeated this question to God and others for years. And now I'm questioning again, how can I teach or show that the greatest love is real when it's not part of my lived experience, that human to human experience of love? Like, am I not supposed to, am I supposed to be above that as this hybrid thing? Am I only supposed to talk about the God love? But then how do I talk about the God love if all the God love does is just pop in occasionally like a placeholder or some touch point within a broader reality, like, hey, here, see you, love you, bye. Or do I do that thing where preachers and teachers across time, like, if you do X, if you do X, then you'll be loved. If you do X, then you will know love. How do I be this thing for others who don't know it? Because I am not alone in this. I am absolutely not alone in this. And I know that if these epidemics of loneliness and social isolation are true, I'm not even in the minority. It's not just an Ingrid experience. So I keep asking, how do I love? How do I love? Can I love? How can I love in a way that is authentic? How can I love thee when this only reciprocity is, for me, is through these ground tendrils and the prayers and of bones pushing through and beauty pushing through me onto canvas? Is this how it's supposed to be? That I just do the thing and this experience of the human God hybrid thing is removed from that. Do I just shut up and sit down and sit in a physical space with people so that they can literally feel that expansive union and understand by experience that greatest love does exist and is part of their lived experience? Like, show me how to love. Show me how to love in a way where it's not like, oh fuck, how do we do it when there's like no scripture to buttress the living, loving truth? When it's not selective enough to validate others' reliance on myths and judgments and all of that. How do I love? How do I love? And how do I love in a way that someone else can know that is truth? How do I love when I don't worship or praise or yearn? I just know. Holy shit, God's love is real. God loves me. Like, how do I love when I don't feel loved? How do I love in the way that others can feel loved and know it is true without their fear? I don't know. Maybe there's no answer. Maybe we just do some shit and see what the fuck happens. I don't know. But it's, I think, a question that many of us need to ask, and then have people around us who can support the question without having to answer it or to give an answer. I don't know. Anyhow, I'm going to talk some more in a little bit today about why I don't like Jesus. Okay, bye.